Okay, this is an introduction to poly printing. Now it's also called press printing as well. As you can see here on my tracing paper, I've drawn a shape. So I've drawn a flower. Now this is a really quick flower, but press printing or poly printing works really well when you've done lots and lots of detailed images. Okay, so you can see now I've got my image and I've also got a polystyrene board. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my image on the polystyrene board. I'm going to take some masking tape, so only a little piece of masking tape, and I'm going to stick it down to my board so it doesn't move. Now, you'll see that I have a really sharp pencil there. Okay, the sharper the better, and you'll see why in a moment. Now, using our pencil, we're going to stab into it. Now hopefully you might be able to hear that noise. I'm not pressing really firmly, I'm just going quite softly into it, and you'll be able to hear almost like a scratch of a paper. The holes are very close together, and this is why you need a really sharp pencil to begin with, so you can get the holes really close together and it's not blunt at all. Okay, so I'm going to do that really quickly. Okay, now you're back. What I've done is I poked the holes through all of the image, and you can see that they're really nicely close together. Now what I can do now is I can take carefully the masking tape off. Okay, so I can take the masking tape off, we don't need that anymore. I'm going to take the bottom off as well. Okay, and what we can do is we can carefully take the tracing paper off. Now you can see I'm left with a number of holes here. Now what you can do is, if you have a really sharp pencil, and you can see my pencil isn't as sharp as it needs to be. It's gone a little bit blunt because I've poked the holes through. So what I can do now is I can carefully do a few more holes so they make a line, or I can carefully run, if the holes are close together, my pencil down. This is quite risky, and you don't want to do this if the holes are too far apart, because it will rip the polystyrene board because it is really fragile. Okay, so what I want to do is, I know my holes are quite close together, so I can carefully run my pencil down through the holes, and this will make the image, it will connect the drawing together. Okay, so I'm doing this very speedily, but you will take lots and lots of time and be very careful over this as well. Okay, great stuff. Just make this circle in the middle. Fantastic. And we're looking like we're done there. So what I'm going to do, we're going to start on the ink here, and you can see that I have got a line of ink on my palette. Now I have chosen a blue, and I'm going to get my roller. Now we're using a smaller roller for this today because we've got a smaller image. With one palette that has the ink on, this is the palette, we're going to roller. And you can see that this is quite gloopy now. There's a lot of excess ink, gloopiness, on the roller. So we're going to use the other palette. And this is to wipe all the excess off. So we want our roller to be quite consistent with the amount of ink that is all over it. We can get more if we need. Right, we're going to pop those out the way. And with my Polyprint now, or press print, you can roller over it. So if I need a little bit more ink, I go for the gloopy ink and then go to the dry ink roller or the dryer palette to wipe and to roller off the excess. And you can see now that my pattern is starting to be visible because it's white where we've poked all the holes in it. So I'm just going to roller over it until I think it's quite a good amount of paint. There's no gloopiness, there's no bits that are more wet than the other one. So I'm going to roller each way, but because it's so fragile, I know that I really don't want to bend it because it will crack and break. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Now normally I think probably the third or fourth print is normally my favourite, but we're going to give it a whirl at the moment. I'm going to get some paper, so I've got some A5 paper, and I'm going to turn my print over carefully and just lay it on top. I'm going to get a dry roller now, so not the wet one, and roller over this. You can see how I'm being careful, but I'm going all ways to make sure it's pressed down. Okay, with a Polyprint or a press print, you don't normally need to use your hands, but you can, if you want, rub down on the print. Now we're going to do the big reveal now. Okay, so you keep hold of your paper and slowly you can reveal your print. Now I think for a first print, that is a really lovely print. And what I could do now is I could wash my palette or get a new palette, put maybe a lovely yellow or a green, a colour that sits next to the colour on the colour wheel, so you can so the colours blend well together. We don't want to use a contrasting colour straight away because those colours, like if we had the blue, we wouldn't want to use an orange straight away because those wouldn't blend well together. We might go for a green or maybe a yellow. Okay, great.